Welcome all astrology family. This is G and we're going to take a walk together through the August full moon. This happens August 3rd, 2020, but I am going to go over some of the other things, some of the other planets, some of the other conversations that are going to be happening at the butt end of July. I did touch upon that in the July videos. If you haven't checked those out for your rising sign, there is 2 for each rising sign. Make sure you go ahead and do that because that will give you a lot of clarity as to the events that occurred in your life and the events that are coming. Now, this full moon happens at 10:59 a.m. August 3rd, 2020, and I am in Central Standard Time Zone. So you'd have to adjust for wherever you live. And the time of the event isn't really a huge deal. We really only need to pay attention to that fully when we're doing a new moon, because the new moon is when we do our intentions, our prayers, our wishes. It's when the universe is literally the most open to what it is that we desire. It's a very, very powerful time. Okay? The new moon, because it's an intention time, it's a beginning. The full moon is a culmination. It's an ending. It's a closure. It's a time of elevated emotions because it is the moon, but it's also a time where information comes through and we can finally say, you know what, I think I'm done with that, whatever that was for you. So just so that you know, this video here is all about the overall energies. We're showing the chart. I'm going to walk through. You see a lot of red lines, and we're going to talk about that because the red lines represent squares, testing, stress, tension. And yes, look, in this chart, there's only like 3 blue lines. And so, wow, that's like, holy crap, what is this going to be? So we're going to walk through it, though, and dissect it because some of the blue lines are pretty powerful. Even though there's only 3 of them, some of them, because you see, they involve Neptune, and Neptune is a big ruler. The slower a planet is, the more powerful it is in a sense. And the more people it involves. It's got wider arms, so to speak. It can cover more area. The energies I want to begin with are at the butt end of July. The July, like 28th, 29th, 30th. In those other videos, I touched on it very shortly, but I will expand upon it here. It was the Mercury opposing Pluto. Now, in this chart, you see Mercury's at 27 degrees in Cancer energy, okay? Because I have this chart written for the 3rd of August. All right, Mercury does move pretty quick, even though it is in the water of Cancer. It is already at 27 degrees on the 3rd, but when we got to the end of July, it was at 23 degrees of Cancer energy. So if you look down here, we see Pluto at 23, right? 2350. So really almost at 24 here. So when Mercury got to 23, 24 degrees at the end of July, it was exactly, that's what we call an opposition. And that's what a red line is. So you've got Mercury at one end and you've got Pluto at the other end of that red line, right? They are energies that are opposing each other. Now, let's do a real quick, small astrology lesson for anybody who is new or anybody who just needs to be brushed up on some skills or just as a friendly reminder and some fun facts that I would be. They're fun facts for me because I'm crazy G. Cancer is my family, my home. It's my feelings and my emotions. The moon does rule this sign. Yeah, you hear the birds out the window. They're talking to me. But Cancer, so we had a big new moon, right? We had a big new moon ceremony, actually, for all the astrology members who want to be a part of it, which is an intention time. And it was in the sign of Cancer. It was really powerful. It was on the 20th of this month. That's a new beginning, right? That's okay, this is what I want going forward. And it involved family because it was in the sign of Cancer. Now, when we look at the sign of Cancer, we understand nurturing and family. Now, it's also a mom energy. It's feminine energy, right? Humanity, the big scale and your personal scale is your family. But on a large macro scale, humanity, right, the public is right there at the midheaven. And the midheaven is all about your ambitions, your goals, how you express your best in the world. And so this video is kind of an example of that. if that makes sense for people, that this is information and knowledge getting into the public's hands. Astrology just simply is that. It is the language of the universe, and it's universal because it's all in symbols. And once you learn the meaning of those symbols, it doesn't matter what language you speak, it doesn't matter what religion you believe in. This is a foundational energy. It just is. Cancer, emotions, family. Now, this is your inner world, your inner emotions, okay? This is also your foundational home. This is your structure that you live under, the roof over your head. It represents that as well. Mom energy, we have to remember that, the mother wound. This is also part of Cancer energy, or the moon. When we go to the opposite end of Mercury, down here, that's Pluto energy, right? Pluto and Capricorn. Well, if Cancer is the home, then Capricorn is the job. You see how astrology works? Opposing energies, right? It's the science of wholes. It's a holistic, energetic explication. That's a mouthful, but that's what it is. It's evolutionary energetic studies. And Capricorn energy is work. It's your highest ambitions in the world, your goals. And yes, you're right. I did just say that about the MC, because Capricorn energy is represented by the MC. So it gets really confusing really fast because there's lots of layers to it all. But over a long period of time, you start to realize it starts to click. It starts to make sense. It starts to resonate. So Capricorn energy, my ambitions, my goals, on a private scale, it could represent the male energy in your life, right? I said Cancer was female, so Capricorn is male, masculine. This is feminine, could be mom. This is masculine, could be dad, right? Now, these are energies, folks. So when we say the nurturer in your life, depending upon, that could have been, doesn't matter what the gender was, but the nurturer of your life. And this would have been the rule maker of your life, the person that was the disciplinarian, the person that said, hey, but these are the rules. You can't break the rules. You have to abide by the rules. This is, the Capricorn energy. I'm the teacher. I set the rules. I tell you when, this is Simon Says energy. I tell you when to jump, when to take a step, when to step back, right? That's how Simon Says. This is also your work, your professional career, because your goals and your ambitions are here, and it is associated with what you do professionally in the world, how you want to show up, how you want to express, or how you actually do express your best. Mercury in the sign of Cancer, right? I gave you a little back history on Cancer, a little back information. Mercury in Cancer, we see what she's talking and what she's thinking about. She's thinking about family. And then we go over down here to Pluto. Pluto. What does Pluto do? Because Mercury represents your thinking, your talking, your speaking, your relating and communicating, your Plutonian energy. Pluto is below the surface stuff. It's deep stuff. Pluto represents power. Power. Now, Capricorn energy is the one in charge, right? In the home, it's the one in charge in the home. In the world, it's who's in charge in the world. Who's in charge at your job? Who's the boss? Who's the supervisor? Who's the manager? Who's the CEO? Who's in charge, right? This is big business, big government. Capricorn, Saturn energy is things that have been built up, tangible things, organizing tangible things that have been built up over a long period of time. And typically, because there's this tangible thing associated with the Capricorn energy, it represents my tangible securities, because Cancer energy represents your emotional securities. You can't see your emotions, right? It's watery. It's what you feel. It's that security. The opposite of that kind of security would be your financial security, but your tangible security. Your job is what gives you financial security to some degree, right? So all this you see now, hopefully that's given you a great example of how some of these energies and the relationship and the understanding the science of opposites, right? The polar opposites, Cancer, Capricorn. The eclipses of the last year were all in Cancer Capricorn energy. And the previous year, they were in Leo energy. Or actually, the Cancer Capricorn eclipses lasted even longer than that. And we've had so many changes. We've had so many changes about family, about work, right? Big business and government. Whoa. Government and the public. Whoa. Wow. These are issues that are very prevalent, right? Very relatable, very current eventish for right now. What in the heck is going on? Pluto energy, behind the scenes power, people in power. Who has power? The government has power, people in the government, people who are wealthy, the mad, sick, rich folks. For some, they think they have all the power, right? So there's this opposing energy going on, right? Think about that. When you think of all those things I've just said, all those keywords and the opposing energy down here, up there, or however you're looking at it, it's fascinating. Pluto is about the behind the scenes stuff you didn't know about, stuff the public did not know about. And Mercury is the messenger. So Mercury and Pluto are sitting at a table together and they're having a conversation. And Mercury is finding out from Pluto. Pluto is saying, hey, this is what's been going on. This is what you didn't know about. And Mercury is the deliverer. Mercury will deliver the information to the public. Also keep in mind, Mercury is social media. Mercury is the internet. Mercury is your neighbor. Mercury is your community. Mercury believes it's the teacher. Mercury believes that it's, back in the day, Mercury was the newspaper, right? Newspaper isn't such a big thing nowadays. We have other ways of getting information. We get information at our fingertips. It's very quick. But now Mercury has transformed and has grown, has evolved, and it is the internet, right? It is social media. This is Mercury. I deliver the news, right? Mercury, big Facebook thing. Everybody there thinks that it is their job to deliver the news to everybody else that is a friend of theirs, right? That's what happens there. That's Mercury. That is Mercury talking, thinking, speaking, relating very fast, by the way, which is why, right? Blame it on Mercury, which is why it is very easy, especially on Facebook. You see a post, and what do? You like it, you think it's great, you think it's the truth, you click, you hit share, right? How many times has that happened before we even read the full article? We're just looking at the headline and we're doing that. And then if we've dug deeper and we read the article, how many of us are checking the sources of it, right? Quick information that may not be accurate. Unbelievable to the degree where that can't possibly be real, or so believable, it appears so real that we just immediately hit that share button. And so there's some very strong reactions that come about, and that's when all the comments come in, right? That's what that Mercury is about as well. I'm going to tell you what I think. That's Mercury. And being in Cancer means it's passionate, because Cancer is emotions. And when emotions fuel the thinking, they actually cloud the thinking. And when our emotions get involved, they actually cloud our ability to be logical and rational and objective. You see Mercury's at a later degree of Cancer energy here, which is a good thing. Because Cancer energy, not that it's bad, it's good, but we're learning how to balance this. It's a recalibration of bringing empathy and nurturing back into our ways of communicating and thinking without hindering our ability to think, without hindering our ability to be logical and rational. It's us learning how to relate in a way where it's not just about caring about my own personal, you're my blood family, but that humanity is my family. This is really the bigger story that we are unfolding and that we are birthing. Pluto opposing Mercury, information coming out, shocking information even, right? Here's the thing, when Pluto opposes Mercury, typically because Pluto is so powerful, there is information that comes out, so it may not even necessarily be a revealing, but it may even look more like, because a lot has to do with your own private chart, but much of it may look like there's someone in your life on a small scale who's trying to convert you, who is trying to present something to you that they so wholeheartedly believe in. They're trying to convince you. They're trying to say to you, hey, but this is this now, or this is what I'm doing. They're trying, it's like this ultimate salesman on steroids type of thing. But because it's Pluto and Mercury together, they get below the surface, they get to the details. So this does have the ability to express in different ways depending upon other things in your chart. But on a really high level, it's getting to the bottom of the business, digging till you get to the truth. Like that's a high expression of it. A lower expression of it is manipulation. Using my power, Pluto, to manipulate your thought, right? So you see how you got to know the basic foundation of an energy and then understand as human beings, we have freedom of expression, freedom of living. We have free will. So our ability to manipulate whatever it is that we're working with, our tools, these energies, our frequencies, it is our ability to emit it in the way that we choose. And that's where our degrees of freedom come in. That was the end of July, the beginning of August. So let's take a walk further. Mercury keeps moving. And what happens is that Mercury, you see, is at 27 here, but what else is at 27 across the chart? We have Saturn at 27. And although it appears as though Saturn is here, it's not. Saturn is actually this blue mark here. Saturn is at 27 degrees. 27, 38 degrees of Capricorn energy. So it's Saturn opposing Mercury. Now, I'm just going to give you a quick rundown of what that means. Saturn opposing Mercury. Saturn restricts things. So it can restrict the thinking because we're talking about Saturn opposing our thinking, which is Mercury. Saturn can also be very serious. Saturn is all about responsibilities. Yes, that's Capricorn energy, responsibilities. I have to do this. So wherever Capricorn is in your chart, like which house is it in? That's where you're going to be very quite serious. And it's where you're going to you have a strong sense of responsibility. Like, I have to take care of this. Nobody else will do it. I know I have to be the one to do this. Right? And so that's Capricorn energy. Capricorn, again, I said it at the beginning, it's, energy built up over a long period of time, your tangible security. So we've got Saturn here opposing Mercury, which means for all of us, whatever our responsibilities are in our life, they will be bearing down on us at the time of the full moon on August 3rd. We will be feeling the seriousness, the heaviness of Saturn on our mind because it's opposing Mercury. Now, for those who may suffer from depression, it is also helpful to know that because Saturn is so serious and affects our way of thinking, what it does is it takes all the fun out of our thinking. It kind of saps it. So this is a heads up for August. You're going to start feeling it August 1st, August 2nd, August 3rd, August 4th, a few days before the full moon, a few days after, right? Because there are other factors in your private chart. This is just a universal chart, basically, for all of us. And what that means is Saturn is so serious, things might feel quite heavy in the mind. Right? You might be getting more depressed, or other individuals who aren't normally depressed. This might be a day where you're feeling down, or a couple of days where you're feeling down and you're like, God, I wish I could just snap out of it already. So here's the video to give you a heads up ahead of time to understand that this is Saturn. You're feeling the effects of Saturn, responsible Saturn in Capricorn, bearing down on Mercury. Now, Saturn does really well in Capricorn because it rules Capricorn. It communicates, it does well there, it's comfortable there. So at this time, even though Saturn is talking to Mercury and it's telling Mercury, imagine Saturn is the dad and it's saying, hey, you have all these chores to do. So Mercury's just like, what? But I want to go and play. I want to fly. I want to have fun, right? That's Mercury. That really is Mercury. I want to go talk and communicate and relate to people and my neighbors, the kids out. Like, that's Mercury. I want to go and I want to socialize. I want to go and I want to network. That's Mercury. I want to be on social media. I want to do the internet. And the parents are like, yes, responsible Saturn is like, after you get your chores done, then I'll give you your phone back. Right? And so it feels heavy, right? And when you're a young one, it's like, oh my God, you're being so mean. So as an adult, what does that translate to for you in your life? What does that mean for you in your life? And that's all that's going to be. But my heads up is for those in their lives who already suffer from depression, understanding this might be another time. Because I've already had people reaching out where they were saying, gosh, gee, what's going on? I'm feeling really heavy in the mind. They're using the word depression. And so there is going to be this happening. All right. Now we have some other beautiful things that you see, the blue lines that are powerful. Okay. We've got lovely Jupiter sending a nice beam of blue energy to Neptune. And that's nice, right? That is beautiful. Neptune's quite powerful. Jupiter is quite powerful, although it's not as powerful as it would like to be in Capricorn energy. It can't expand the way that it likes to, but it is more realistic. It is more realistic when it's in Capricorn energy because Jupiter tends to exaggerate. Actually, Jupiter in Capricorn can be beneficial for some folks, right? Because think about that. Capricorn, I said earlier, was your what? Tangible security. And if Jupiter comes along and expands upon tangible security, some people have been making a crap load of money in light of all the stuff that's been going on in 2020, right? There are those up there, the higher ups, big business, big government, right? Been making a crap load. This has been very beneficial for some people. So right now at this time, we've got Jupiter sextiling. That's what that blue line is there. It's like a 60-degree mark Neptune. And Neptune is like the angel wings, folks, okay? Neptune will lighten things up a little bit, which is nice because Neptune, even though it's very far away from Mercury, we see it's still showing a blue line, but Mercury's at 27 and Neptune's at 2031. They're technically trining, but they are very far away. It's a 7-degree orb, we would call that, because it's 7 degrees apart. So it's a trine, but Neptune wings are still present. Okay, and it's present because it's aspecting, which means how it's relating. It's close enough to be talking, to be having a conversation to Jupiter. It's close enough to be having a conversation with Pluto, right? That's the blue lines we're seeing. And so that is lovely. Neptune is also sending a blue line to Vesta. Vesta is a feminine energy. Vesta is the light that you express when you are being your unique self, your divine female qualities, traits, and characteristics. And when you are doing what you came to do, you carry this light about you that people see in you. And so Neptune is also aspecting, having a conversation with the Vesta energy, which is beautiful because it's all in Cancer energy. After the full moon, Mercury is going to be moving. And I'm going to talk about this for a second, and then I'm going to go back and talk about the actual full moon, because there's some other major things happening at the full moon that I didn't even get to. And yes, that's this big T-square that includes Uranus. And this full moon I am calling an ecliptical full moon because, well, I'll get into that in a little bit. Mercury is going to be moving, okay? Mercury doesn't, it's going to get to the 29-degree mark in Cancer. And when it gets to the 29-degree mark of any sign, when any sign at 29 degree gets hit, it's considered a critical degree because it's the last degree of that sign. So it starts to feel the energies from the other sign, but yet it's still dealing with this. Things start to get complicated. It becomes, this last degree also has a lot of potency to it, a lot of punch to it. So our emotions can also get elevated at that time. But as you see, it's already very close, right? Mercury is very close to the critical degree already. So that means at this full moon, you could most definitely expect elevation of emotions about your family, about your private family, but also your bigger family, humanity. But Mercury will shortly after that be moving, and it'll be going into Leo. And this is exciting, and this is good news, because Leo is optimism. Leo is creative. Leo is that divine, creative heart force. Leo is the heart. It's how we express uniquely. It is the divine streams of light coming from the heart, beaming out and just shining and touching. And it gives you the ability to talk, to communicate, to create, to be optimistic, right? To go forward, to change your ways of thinking. So to know that that is right around the corner of the dark time, right around the corner is Mercury going into Leo. Leo is all about laughter and fun and unique ways of being creative with our body, having a good time, right? Playing games and sports. The Mercury energy is shortly after the full moon going to go into the sign of Leo. And this is important to just hold on to that, because when we talk about the rest of the full moon frequencies, you're going to be like, I don't want to hear anymore, right? Now, I'm not saying it's horrible, but as you see, there's a big red T-square right here, right? We've got the full moon, which is, a full moon is the sun opposing the moon. That is a full moon. So we've got the sun at 11 degrees. See the big 11? 11 degrees and the little number 46. That represents the minutes. 11 degrees, 46 minutes. The sun is that round circle with the round circle on the inside. And it's in Leo energy, right, which is optimism. So that's another factor that will help us, because then we also, our vibrancy, our heart energy is right where it belongs. The sun is the ruler of Leo. So this is good. As you see, even though we only have 3 blue lines, there are a lot of positive factors, things that nuggets that we can hold on to go forward. Now, at the opposite end, we scoot down here, we see the moon. So we've got the moon at 11 degrees and 46 minutes because the full moons are on full moon down here and the sun at the exact degree opposite of it. That's in Aquarius. That's what these little waves look like. They look like waves of water. This is an air sign, Aquarian energy. The age of Aquarius is all about humanity, the public, mankind receiving information. Yes, the age of Aquarius. We are in the beginning stages of the age of Aquarius. So the full moon in Aquarian energy at 1146, the sun at 1146 in Leo energy. This is a fixed full moon, folks. All right, fixed energy because Leo is fixed. I'm sorry, Aquarius is fixed and Leo is fixed. Leo is fixed fire. Fixed fire. Fire is optimism. Fire is let's start something. Fire is positively, right? What does light do? When light comes, everyone feels better, right? When we sit in the dark, we're in the dark for too long, we feel down, we feel isolated. But then when the light comes around, the light shows us the way. The light gives us knowledge, gives us information. It gives us vitality and strength. The light feeds us because that's the sun. The sun is how we live, how we get our food and our sustenance, our energy. And so that's Leo. Very fun. It's heart energy. It's how we express. The moon is our emotions. And it being in Aquarius, Aquarius energy, let's talk about that. Aquarian energy is group energy. Leo is me. It's how I have a good time, how I express, right? It's my heart energy, right? It's self. Now, when we look at Aquarian energy, the opposite would be group, okay? It's group. Aquarian energy is fixed air. Fixed air. Air represents thought. Air represents the way you think. You're thinking, fixed thinking. So you don't want to change your ways of thinking. But to be more specific, it's fixed ways of thinking in terms of groups. Fixed ways of thinking in terms of humanity. Aquarius energy also has to do with advancements for humanity. This Aquarian energy, the ruler of Aquarius is Uranus. You see that? The ruler of Aquarius is Uranus. Does anybody see a link so far? You see something interesting? Yes. Uranus is over here in Taurus, another fixed sign. Taurus is fixed earth. So Uranus at 1038 in Taurus is close enough to create a square with the sun and a square with the moon, which is the T square, right? It's like a left angle T square you see here in the chart, okay? So Uranus is in Taurus. Taurus is about what I value, me, what's mine, right? This is the second house ruler. It's what do I have tangibly? What's in my bank account? That's Taurus energy. My money, my resources. On a higher expression of energy, it's my love. What do I value that isn't tangible? Like, who do I love? Do I love myself? It's because Uranus is in Taurus for 7 years, 7, 8 years. It's already been there for a couple of years, so it's got like five more years to go. But Uranus rules Aquarius, and we're having a full moon in Aquarius. So off the top, that shows you that we're having Aquarius and Taurus squaring the moon in Aquarius. Now, here are some more keywords for the sign of Uranus and Aquarian energy. Aquarius and Uranus. Uranus rules the sign of Aquarius. I know there's a whole lot of terms being thrown out here, but this is definitely a learning video, and this is a resource that will be invaluable. Doesn't matter what time of year or when you ever watch this video, there's tons of nuggets of knowledge here that will teach you so much about astrology. And it's just one day at a time, 1 minute at a time, 1 moment at a time, folks, okay? Don't get discouraged. This is definitely a Capricorn thing. Back in the day, Saturn was the ruler of Aquarius. And so by me saying that right there, Saturn is the ruler of time. So back in the day, Aquarius energy used to be considered time. Because with Saturn/Capricorn energy, it takes a long time to accomplish this. And that is astrology. It takes a long time to understand what's going on here, to get the big picture of it. So you just do little nuggets at a time and don't get discouraged. Don't throw it away completely. Take breaks when you need them. Now, Uranus squaring the moon in Aquarius. Aquarius, again, advancements for humanity and group energy, but it is also known as the awakener because it's fixed thinking. So there were ways of thinking about group energy where we were stuck. Like, well, we can only gather like this. I have to go and do this because we need to be like this. Is Uranus making a big change in all of that, or what, folks? Right? Now we're going to school online. And yes, Aquarian energy represents the internet. It also represents astrology, if I already didn't say that. Aquarius is the ruler of the internet. Aquarius is the ruler of astrology, of aviation. Aquarian energy is, I think, outside of the box. When you think of how do you create new brain pathways, how do you fire new neurons in your head, in the brain, that's Uranus, baby. It is the nerves. Yes, Uranus represents the nerves in your body. Fascinating, right? So it's the same, Uranus, Aquarius. So our thinking, right? Now you understand our fixed thinking. It's time to fire up new pathways, new neurons in the brain, create new pathways of communication, of linking up, right? So Uranus squaring the moon, and in Uranus, it is going to shake things up. It's supposed to shake things up to teach you, hey, it didn't work this way and it doesn't work this way anymore. Therefore, you have to think like an inventor, because that is the inventor. Aquarius and Uranus are the sign of the inventor. Tesla be associated closely with Aquarius and Uranian energy. Uranian energy is electricity, right? I always say Tesla with this. You saw the movie Frankenstein? That's Aquarius, right? Yes. Messing around with electricity. That's why when there's problems, when we have Mercury retrogrades, because Mercury is a lot like, whenever we have Uranus going retrograde, which by the way, we will, and I will talk about that in this video, because that will mess with your internet, that will mess with your computers, that will mess with all your devices. It might not be horrible for the duration of it, but you'll definitely notice it once the retrograde begins. Usually the first 5 to 7 days of a retrograde are the toughest. Making changes. Advancements for humanity, changing the way we think about how we congregate. This is group energy. If you have your own chart, what you want to do is find out where is 11 and 46, right? 11 degrees and 46 minutes of Aquarius in your chart. If you've got a chart, look it up. Also, you're looking at where the 11:46 degrees in Leo is in your chart. You want to know what house number it's in, because then that tells you the where this happens in your life. Because there's going to be some sort of a surprise. Something's going to occur, and it's going to probably surprise you. If you have something that matches these degrees, it might be quite shocking, because Uranus is over here in what you value, your Taurus energy. Now remember, Taurus is a lover of beauty, a lover of peace, a lover of beauty, a lover of relating in beautiful ways. Art, creativity, singing, speaking. Taurus wants things to be beautiful. Its the ruler is Venus energy, so it could also like nice things, material things. Okay? There's like 3 ways energies can express. There's that lower base way, there's the medium average way, and then there's the super high expression, right? So there's the extreme of the vices and the virtues, right? And then you have like the mid-grade expression. So that's why astrology can get really complicated really fast, because as human beings, we're complex entities, and we have free will on top of all of that. There's a shock and a surprise of some sort. If you need help understanding more about where this is happening in your chart, right? I've got the degrees here, 11:46, and the Uranian energy at 10:38. Those 3 areas of your chart, those 3 house numbers will tell you the areas of your life where there could be shocks and surprises. If you have planets that match those degrees, you can expect big things. If you don't have anything, like for me, for example, I don't have anything at 11:46. In my Aquarian energy. I don't have anything at 11:46 in my Leo energy. I don't have anything at 10:38 in my Taurus energy. So for me, this will not directly, personally, privately affect me, but chances are I will hear about it. I will know somebody who will say, gee, this happened, or gee, what should I do? Chances are I will know somebody that I value, because this is Uranus and Taurus, right? It's in my value system, affecting friendships, right? Group energy is also friends, right? Your group energy, whenever you gather in groups. So this would be people who are friends, but it's definitely internet, and I'm definitely hooked up with the internet, right? And then Leo energy, right? I have some people, I have actually ooh, I have a lot of Leos in my life. So Leo suns, right? If somebody has their Leo sun around this degree, which would mean their birthday is going to be like August 3rd, this would be Uranus squaring their sun the day before the moon. The day before the full moon is when that would happen. They would be feeling it most uncomfortably around August 1st, 2nd, and then finally the emotions kicking on the 3rd because the moon catches up. Now, the other thing I want to talk about before I talk about the ecliptical aspect of this is to also look at some of the other lines. We have, I'm going to say a positive, even though it looks red. We have Mars squaring Jupiter at 19 degrees. Or I'm sorry, a couple days later, it will be tighter, but you would have felt this because with Mars, at least in my life, because Mars is our body, once Mars hit like 17 degrees, you felt the Mars squaring Jupiter. And so this also would have been at the very end of July and the very beginning of August. Mars moves pretty quick. You've got all of that happening at the beginning, the first few days. Now, what does Mars squaring Jupiter mean? Well, Mars is your body. And Mars does really good in Aries because it rules Aries energy. And so our bodies have been strengthened. And we become more impulsive, actually, because we feel invigorated. And remember Mars. Mars lacks thinking. Okay, Mars is an energy. Remember, Mars is like that fine wine, so it takes time. Keep that in mind about Mars energy. It is the fine wine. So once you're older, you really learn how to work with the Martian energy because in a really raw way, Mars is the ego. It is your ego, right? Aries is the sign of the zodiac that's literally considered the baby. It's very young. And so it's really at its most mundane level, it's all about what I need. I need to eat. I need to sleep. Right? And so that's right. That's what an infant does, right? And so this is very much that. But if you've been dealing with the ego energies and you've been, if you've been more honed in and aware of that, you've learned how to recognize it because Mars, because of the lack of thinking, what it does is instead of thinking something through, it immediately acts on what it's thinking about. It has a thought and then it just does instead of holding off, thinking it through step by step first, and then taking action. So Mars is learning how to develop its thinking skills. And for that reason, the sign of Aries, it is all about the body, but more specifically the head, because it's the ram. It tends to go forward with its head down. And when its head is down, it doesn't have its eyes to see where it's headed. It just kind of charges. Also know that Martian energy is sporadic energy bursts. Keep that in mind. I know this all too well because I have Mars on my ascendant. It's very, very, very close, almost exactly on my ascendant. And so I can have times where I look and I appear to be very forceful, be very energetic, just even youthful. And then all of a sudden it's gone. It's just like, whoa, where did it go? It's like that candle that burns the brightest, it burns out the fastest. And that's Mars. It can have these big energetic bursts, but then, it's not consistent. And so that's a tricky thing. All we have to do is find out what the heck does that mean in relationship to it talking to Jupiter. Jupiter is at 1950. At this time, Jupiter in Capricorn is again about business, is about government, okay, is about structure and organizing. And so when we have Mars and Jupiter squaring, Jupiter can actually add to beneficial activity with Mars. Some even call this transit, this conversation they're having, beneficial activity. Now, realizing that Jupiter is not exactly working on its optimal, expansive way, Jupiter does represent freedoms. Okay, this is important. Jupiter represents freedom and traveling. And Jupiter at this time squaring the body, right? Like, oh, I can't travel, but then it sends energy anyway to Mars, and Mars might be like, well, I can't travel, but I can do this. Jupiter is long distance traveling, by the way. Long distance traveling, like overseas. That's Jupiter. Jupiter would like to go up to the moon. Jupiter would like to go into the universe. That is Jupiter, really, to leave the Earth. It's feet off the Earth. It's the arrow that's shot up into the sky. It's air. It's flight, right? So Jupiter wants to do that, but because it's in Capricorn, it doesn't get to do that in the way that it does best, which is to just really expand and take off. But in the communicating it does with Mars here, it tells Mars, oh, you can do that. Oh, you can do that, right? And so Mars has to be careful. Mars has to be cautious. Mars has to be like, you know what? I have to think that through first. That might not be good for me. But I don't think it's going to be hurtful at this time. I think what could happen is there's beneficial activity, I believe, will be actually how I would read this. Now, this could be very different for your specific chart, because you could have something at the exact opposite of this squaring this that makes it harmful. So that's why astrology, when somebody looks at your chart, it's the study of your entire chart, not just one conversation going on. We have to take into consideration of the entire group of planets, all of the personalities. Remember, planets have personality. So you want to make sure that you are seeing the bigger picture always. We need to know the micro, but the macro is just as important, because in our lives, we are the micro of the macro, and the macro is the universe. We are the microverse. So beneficial actions could come along, which means there might be opportunities. So again, you see how even though there's a lot of red in this chart, there are some things here where these reds actually become like, well, purple, because some of the blue from the communication between these two would actually make this a beneficial square. There is such a thing. I know, right? There is such a thing. It seems confusing, and it is. I will be the first to admit it is confusing. But that's why when you know somebody who knows a little something, and then you do a little studying on your own, and you listen to multiple people, over time you start really picking it up. You start to, osmosis is a real thing. It just kind of it starts to stick to you after a while. Each sign in this chart, right? This chart's got this circle going around, and you see all these signs. Each planet rules one of these signs. So when you hear me talk about Mercury, I'm also talking about the sign of Gemini. At one time, Mercury was over here in Gemini energy, and it was squaring the planet Neptune. And Mercury and Gemini both represent our lungs, the Neptune effect. And the Neptune is such a slow-moving planet. And you see the R right there? There's a lot of R's in this chart. These R's represent that these planets are going retrograde. Okay? Look at Saturn retrograde, Pluto retrograde, Jupiter retrograde, Pallas Athena retrograde, Ceres retrograde. This is your food, folks. Ceres is your food. Ceres, C as in cat, C-E-R-E-S, that is Ceres. It's going backwards. If I haven't said it before, actually I know I've put a lot of videos out already about all of this, and I will give you guys a reminder that the food shortages, Ceres going backwards, you want to, when Ceres does go forward again and touches Neptune, we're going to see a shortage again happen, because Neptune is a 5D energy. And what that means is it's not in the physical world. And when 3D energy comes into contact with 5D energy, it makes the 3D energy, Neptune, 5D, makes the 3D energy disappear. Neptune, whenever you see Neptune in a chart, people can disappear from your life. Something tangible can disappear from your life. And Neptune is in everybody's charts. So let me re-say what I just said. When Neptune squares something or becomes conjunct, like something sits right on top of it, which when Ceres is done retrograding, it will catch back up to Neptune here, okay? And when it does, we're going to see that all of a sudden, we're like, hey, I went to the store and I couldn't find this. I couldn't find that. Ceres obviously is grain, right? Demeter and all that. But be aware of that, because knowing this ahead of time, especially when there's stuff on the shelves, you can purchase things, canned goods. You can purchase things where they won't go bad. Now, this isn't to say it's going to stay like that. It's not. This isn't for fear, okay? This is about showing you that there are cycles. And when you know the cycles and you understand them, it's no different than knowing the weather. Like, wow, summer's coming to an end. Fall's going to be coming. Well, what happens in fall? The weather changes with sun less sunny days, the leaves start to fall from the trees, right? We understand that. We know we got to put on heavier clothing, right? We understand the cycles of fall, and then we understand what winter feels like and what it looks like and what it brings with it. And that's what this is, the energetic cycles, the energetic weather. So keep that in mind. I will do another video when Sirius does get close to Neptune, but Neptune is very slow moving. It's going to go back to it goes back to 18 degrees, okay? And when Neptune goes back to 18 degrees, it will be nowhere near Sirius, but Sirius will start to go forward again, and I will put another video out as a heads up, as a reminder about that, okay? Now, the ecliptic full moon. I mentioned the full moon in the degrees at 1146, right? And we also see that Uranus is here at 1038. So it is squaring, all right? What I didn't mention yet, and I was saving as the last nugget to walk away with, Neptune squaring Venus is a good thing. I know it's a square, but it's a good thing. A Venus squaring something is a good thing, folks. It's always a good thing. But they're already 6 degrees apart here, all right? So this square was actually tighter at the very end of July, which I talked about it in the July videos. And typically, that's another example of angel wings coming in. It's support. And because it's Venus, it is financial support. I know the House, they're talking about, the House and the Senate, they're talking about a stimulus bill. And of course, well, it's right here in astrology. Venus is your money, your resources, and Neptune wings. That's in the discussions. But because it's a square, and it's a square to Neptune, there's definitely help that's going to be coming. And, you know, it's assistance of some sort. Because a Venus square, there's no such thing as a bad Venus square, because Venus is always about bringing in abundance. However, what I will add, because Neptune has evolved, here's the caution of Venus and Neptune square. Don't spend more than what you have. Don't spend beyond your means. That's the one bad thing, right? The one negative, I would say, is that it's over idealistic. It's a little dreamy. It also pertains to dreamy love. Someone might be talking to you, because Venus is love, my lover, my love life. You know, if somebody's whispering sweet nothings, give it some time until Venus pulls away, which I did talk about that. I wanted you guys to wait until Venus got away from Neptune, because it's a creative energy. Right? And that means, yeah, you could be procreating, or you could be putting something on canvas. And that is the best way to let this energy express, which is to create something, whether it's music or film, or if you draw, or if you write, like do something really creative, right? Fantasy, do something where others can enjoy. Getting back to the full moon and the eclipse. Now, I call it ecliptic full moon because this point where Uranus is at, this is an eclipse point right here, okay? There is an eclipse that's going to occur right here. And the eclipse is actually, it's 1028 is the eclipse point, I believe. And what you got to know about that is that it's in Taurus. And Taurus is my money, is my income. It's what I value. It's who I value. It's what I love. It's who I love. It's our resources, okay? So we're going to have an eclipse, folks. And this foreshadowing full moon, this ecliptical foreshadowing full moon, because this eclipse has not happened yet. But if you have something at this mark, if you have something at, I'll give it out of 2 degrees. So if you have something in the sign of Taurus at 8, between the degrees of 828 and 1228, of Taurus energy, 828 or 1228. This is your heads up from all astrology. Okay? This is your heads up. Something with your finances, and it'll be a surprise. It will be a big surprise because it's Uranus, and that's what Uranus does. It shocks and surprises. Uranus energy, remember, ruler of Aquarius energy is the awakener. It is expect the unexpected. With your resources, with your money, with what you love, and with what you value. It is also your love, like who I love, those that I love in my life. Do I love myself? Am I starting to love myself? This is all Taurus stuff. My speaking, my communicating, Taurus energy, right? Taurus rules the spoken word. Lots of great singers have a lot of really good Taurus energy in their chart. You may start talking about things you never talked about before, right? There might be information downloads because Uranus definitely is the universal downloads coming to you. But it could also be talking about your finances. It would be easier to know because this full moon, if you have a rough full moon, meaning you had planets over here matching at these degrees that I've already discussed, squaring this point, that is your foreshadow point. That is telling you right then and there that in 2 years' time, yes, I said it, in 2022, this is where the eclipse happens. We will be having a North Node eclipse right here. Yes, we will. A North Node solar eclipse, which means a new beginning. And if it's the North Node, it represents your future. But find out, folks, okay? Find out if if you're going to have a rough full moon, this August full moon, I want you to comment to me. I really do. Get your birth info to me, and I will find out for you. I will find out if you have anything at these degrees, because if there's going to be a change coming, if you have matching things, folks, if you have matching things, eclipse energy can happen before the eclipse. It's not going to happen in 2022. You're going to start feeling it. The eclipse has the power. If you have stuff happening, it's already beginning because this is the first foreshadowing moments of it. But that's what it's going to look like. That's what the next 2 years are going to look like for you, going through financial changes. Okay. Now, if you don't have something at these points, at the squaring points, you could have something at the trining points. And so what does that mean? Trining would be the earth energies. It'd be a triangle. So if you have something in Virgo at 8:28 to 12:28, or Capricorn, 8:28 to 12:28. We're all going to have this here, okay? This eclipse point's going to be here. So this is good for all of us, no matter who we are, whether we have a private, personal birth planet there or not. The eclipse is happening here, and the North Node will be there. So that means it sets up a beautiful, grand Earth trine. And an Earth trine means, I didn't have to do nothing. It just landed in my lap. And if it's talking about Taurus energy and Capricorn energy and Virgo energy, it's tangible earth energy, folks, right? That's a nice thing. That's a really nice thing. It adds stability to your life. It most definitely has something to do with your values and your resources. And it's a plus. It's a positive. It will add ease. Now, the last thing I'm going to mention here is we are still going to have this ongoing Eris at 2433 with Pluto at 2350. Pluto at 2350 is really Pluto at 24 degrees. So we are having Eris and Pluto constantly squaring. Eris is this youth energy. It's this I'm going to protest energy because it's in Aries. It's very young. But Eris is the feminine qualities as well. It's the female that was told to be quiet, the female that was told to hush up, the female that was never given the invitation to the party. Well, in Aries energy and squaring Pluto, Eris is stepping up and saying, enough is enough, I'm speaking out. No more injustices. And this, folks, we will continue. This is an ongoing saga. There's backstory, right? This is the backstory of the stories that are going on. The inequalities, the injustices, whether it's a racial inequality, whether, sexist, gender, whatever that may be, this is going to be carrying us through. And folks, really, we have revolutionary energies happening. And what we're seeing now, the fights, the protests, what we're seeing happen now, we can keep expecting this in our lives. So I want everybody listening now, and please share this with as many people as you can. We do have help, okay? We have Venus mid-August going into Cancer energy, which is all about how do I love myself? How do I nurture myself? Who do I value? Venus is I love you, and this is myself, but yet my family, but yet humanity is my family. Looking out for humanity, meaning every brother is my brother. Every sister is my sister. It goes beyond blood. And so this is good. This is good because when the public wakes up and realizes that their power is when they are together, Your power is when you unite. Divided, we fall. We have to show unity in our community. We have to unite. We have to take our white and our black hand and put them on each other. We have to bring in the red hand and the black hand. We have to include the yellow, the brown, right? We have to include all the colors, all the genders, right? Remember one of the past videos? The upload was all about, it's not going to be about gender anymore, folks. We're going to learn to see beyond the physical. We're going to learn to see beyond form. We want to be part of the cosmic community, the CCC, because the cosmic community is beyond Earth. But we can't graduate to that until we learn to see beyond form, until we learn to elevate our Leo heart, and we learn to love the group. We learn to love all of humanity. We learn to love all beings, the two-legged and the four-legged. Venus going into Cancer on the 6th, the 7th, the 8th of this month of August, Venus is going to do that, and it's going to help. And I also already talked about how Mercury's going to go into Leo. So this is all about positive affirmations, going through mind training, you incorporating positive mind training for yourself, waking up in the morning and having prayers of gratitude, talking and speaking and communicating about what it is in your life that's good, making a point of focus to make yourself find the good in your life. It's not easy. It's very hard at times. It is work, but you have to do it, because when we do this, we can elevate, and we can elevate together. We can elevate together. We want to elevate vertically. We want to come together as a unity, right? We want love in our community. We want every brother to be our brother, every sister to be our sister. We want to understand that we are universal beings. We can see that we are one. We can see and we hold on to it. That is our power. When we embrace our humanity, when we understand our big family is humanity.